Welcome back. Week 4, and we have 2 front runners. I want to see if you agree with me on this. But let's dive into this episode and let's talk about, is this season going by faster than usual? Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Diane here. With some new big news, we have the Golden Bachelor. I already have my gold roses. I can't tell you, though, I have not been this excited about an announcement in a long time. And let's face it, we have waited 3 long years, right? They kept teasing us. The senior bachelor is coming, and hopefully, finally it is. So we meet Gary. Jerry, it's spelled, but it's pronounced Gary, our new 71-year-old bachelor who is a widower, and I am so excited. But as many of you know my story, my husband is a widower, and so I really feel like this is a good start, right? We don't have all of the divorcee kind of energy, and I'm going to be curious who the women are. Are they going to be divorced? Are they going to be widows themselves? But I think it will be fascinating, and I can't wait. So all the funny memes have started already. I did a little Renaissance reel with the women, like, woo! But I can't wait to see what they're going to choose for the dates. And gosh knows, I wish they had a therapist. But I think we're going to have some real life experiences with people who are more mature, right? They've just been through a lot, and we're going to meet children and families instead of parents. But what do you think of the dates? I think they're going to do pickleball because Gary is into pickleball, and he's into like 4-wheeling. He lives in Indiana on a lake. There's going to be maybe gardening. I don't know. I think it will be really funny. But here's something interesting you may not know, because I've done my research on this. Who are the people that actually watch reality dating shows? What would you guess? Do you think it's mostly younger people or older people? Because there's a statistic that says that 29% of viewership for The Bachelor is 50 to 64 years old. Did you realize that? That's 30%. Statistically, otherwise, 28% of viewers are from 18 to 29, and the remaining 36 are from 30 to 49 years old. So I'm just curious, as a viewer, how old you are. If you wouldn't mind, drop in the comments. Let me know. I'm doing my own unofficial poll. But anyway, I'm so excited about the Senior Bachelor. And now, of course, my husband Lyle can play Gary, and he doesn't even have to put a wig on. In fact, his hair is grayer than Gary's hair is. Okay. All right. Let's put that aside for now. And I want to get to Miss Charity Season. She is in her red and white checkered dress. She's got her boots on because it looked cold in Washington. My goodness. So I just thought it was really beautiful. It was cold and wintry. But let's talk about some more data, because everyone's saying, and I agree, this is week 4, and we're down to 6 men out of 25. Wow, I just feel like it's going so fast, right? And the finale is going to be August 21st. But remember, one of those episodes is the Men Tell All. So essentially, we have one more date, then hometowns, then fantasy suites. Moving so fast. Is this faster than normal? Well, I decided to do my own little digging and be my own batch data. And I looked at 20 seasons of The Bachelorette, because this is the 20th season. And what do you think the mean is? So the mean, the average number of episodes, is 8.25. And Charity Season is 9 episodes. So it's not that different. In fact, the first 4 seasons of The Bachelor, when it first came out in 2003, Trista, first season, was only 6 weeks. And then Meredith, 6 weeks, Jen, 7 weeks, then it went to 7 weeks. Then for the longest time, it was 10 weeks. Then it went back to 6 weeks. And then Gabby and Rachel had 11 weeks. And we thought that was so fast, but remember that was 2 people. So Charity having 9 weeks feels kind of right around the average. But I think what happens is we get used to The Bachelor. And remember, The Bachelor is 12 weeks. So comparatively to The Bachelor, it just feels really young. But Michelle Young also had the same number of episodes as Charity. So, okay, I'm going to get to that. Now we're back to Washington, where I said it's cold and we've got some big earrings that are going along with the big foot. And who knew that Charity's favorite color is blue? So we start out the night and Brayden is talking to Sean. And I'm going to say, I've been a little bit hard on Brayden last episodes, but I actually can see a lot of merit to the things that Brayden says. I don't think he's an evil bad guy, but he's making a point when he says to Sean that you don't even know her favorite color. And this reminded me of Ariel, whose brother says to Zach, you don't even know her favorite color. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just remember this question. But while they're talking, the men are talking in this very cool vibe, Washington, which remember, the host cities pay a lot of money to host their show there because they want to bring publicity there. And I get it. It looked pretty rural. Okay, but the first one-on-one is with Dotun, and he is, I think, one of the front runners. We're going to get to that. I just think Dotun, Mr. Tall Man, he's got this leaf shirt on here, is just adorable. So they are on this perfect first date, and they're going to do bungee jumping. And then when he says,
one of my biggest heights is fears, and so I'm a little, well,
raise your hand if you can relate to Dotun, because I personally would be freaked out by this date too. And then they jump not once, but twice off the bridge. I'm like, my God, you guys go. But we know something about these dates. We know that adrenaline bonds a couple. They say that couples who play together stay together. Why? Because when your heart rate is going up, you have a surge of dopamine and serotonin. You feel something. You feel like a flutter, and then we associate positive feelings with that. So if you are single and you're going on a date, do something fun, do something adventuresome that gets your heart rate up because it enhances feelings of connection. But I thought that Dotun did a really nice job, and they both kept commenting about it later when they were at the s'mores, about how lovely they partnered together, that he allowed her to feel safe and connected, and she allowed him to take some risks. So I thought this was just a lovely connection that was happening between the two of them. And oh, that was some passionate kissing too. And the fireside, though I thought it was a little bit cheap on the date. We've seen some lovely sort of dinner dates, but they're out in Washington. I just don't think there was much else available. So anyway, good job, Dotun. I am really liking him and his energy. Okay, let's get to the Girl Scout date because I thought these girls were adorable. And are they paid actresses? Now, granted, the strike was not happening yet, so that's very possible. But the demon girl, oh my gosh, she certainly earned her pay. And the other two girls were just saucy. And I loved that Charity had this moment with the girls where it's like, okay, we're in this little girl team and the girls are like, you better bring us back all of these things. And the one girl has the demonic voice. I just thought, oh my gosh, that's really funny. And then they really came for Aaron, right? Like looking at him and he got intimidated. I thought, oh my gosh. Okay. So, but here's another thing I'm going to agree with Brayden about when he says that no amount of effort is going to help you win. Good point, Brayden. Brayden, good point. That Charity, like all bachelorettes, has already made up her mind. It's not really about scavenging and doing the best job, because did Aaron really deserve? He brought her a frog. Did he deserve to win? No, she wanted to kiss him, so she did. So I agree with Brayden about that it doesn't at this point matter that much. But here's something else I want to point out about Brayden, because also in that date is when all of the guys answered, like, who would you eat first? And the young girl pointed out that, well, he's pretty beefy and he's a big guy. He does have really big quadriceps, right? His legs are big. And would you eat him because he's meaty, or if you were in an apocalypse and you needed to eat the smallest person? So I was just wondering, why eat Brayden first? But even Brayden like put down his own name, right? I think he put Sean and then he put his own name down. And I thought that was interesting. But Brayden's not making a lot of friends. And so when I think about why this is hard for Brayden, we're going to get to that. He's just not vibing with the other guys. He's not like the guy's guy. He's not saying the traditional things. And so it's making it hard for Brayden because he really just doesn't have any friends. So we'll get to that. All right. But overall, I don't think Brayden is a bad guy. I do wonder if he feels a little bit intimidated by some of the other guys, right? Because Charity herself, has her master's degree in counseling, and Xavier is getting a PhD. Dotun is a scientist also. So I felt like Brayden's over here trying to just kind of get validation and attention. But he brings up some really good points. Like, he's just not in a place to be committed. And in some ways, because he is a little bit further along with her, right? He got the first impression rose. He's already had a one-on-one date. I think he almost knows what this next piece means a little bit. So there was another video, and I know I did a whole video on Nick Viall kind of coming for Charity. And though he was harsh on Brayden, now he seems to be defending Brayden, saying that obviously Brayden is auditioning for Paradise, but that everybody else was kind of blaming Brayden, like then John, and we're going to get to that, was sort of blaming him. Now, who do I think I could see Brayden with? And at one point, he's in the woods without a shirt. Okay, I have him here without a shirt. What are you doing in the woods? Because did he eat the mushrooms and he's like just having a time? He's also eating everything, saying my friends would tell me I can't do this. So I thought all of that just felt so random, kind of chaotic. And that's clearly just not a fit for someone like Charity. But maybe he would be a good fit for somebody like Christina Mandrell. Do you remember her? She was just on Zach's season. I follow her. She's got the daughter. She seems really kind of fun. She got a weird edit too. I don't know why. I just thought of them together. That would be interesting. But here's something I want to put out. Okay. If this is you and in dating and you meet somebody and they say they're not sure if they're ready yet, what do you say? Okay? Because I want us all to learn a lesson. I don't just watch the show for fun, but how do you apply this? So you have a boyfriend and maybe he says, I'm not ready to move in yet. Okay, to take the next step in your relationship, but you're already established. Everything's going well. And he says, I'm not ready. I'll tell you a technique that's really good, and this is super helpful. It's called leveling. Okay, in therapy, if I'm the therapist, if I'm the couples therapist, and one partner is saying they're really ambivalent and really concerned, I don't actually make them feel bad, like this is the Bachelorette and you knew what you were signing up for. If I really wanted them to open up more, what I would say is, I too am ambivalent. No wonder, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense that you're not sure. You don't really know me yet. And then by me saying that I too am worried, I don't make them feel worse. Now, Charity is the Bachelorette. She doesn't have time to sort of appease Brayden because she's already appeased him enough. She's given him enough validation, and it's still not enough. Okay. But if you did like this person, you are already in a relationship, they're getting weirded out by saying, I too am ambivalent. It allows you to just create the space to talk about what you're ambivalent about. Because on the show, there is so much pressure, and we see this time and time and time again, that the closer we get to the end, the more the men kind of freak out, like Brayden, when it gets more real. Okay, so here's the thing then. Okay, so now it's the evening portion of the group date, and Brayden's talking to the guys. We're back to, he doesn't have any bros in this group. No one's going to defend. So there's a lot of bravado. And it's okay to be ambivalent, but I don't think it's okay to kind of pretend that you're better. And I think Brayden, in his young way, he's trying so hard to like carve his own path and be different that he's just not getting buy-in. So Charity walks in and hears this. And like a good therapist, she pulls him and says, tell me more. Because she does want to know, is this something she's doing? Is it just him? I appreciate her asking more questions. And then Brayden says, I just don't think it's working for me. So here's the thing. I had said in one of my stories that she asked him to leave. That's not true. He decided to leave on his own accord, which I thought actually was a good move. He knows himself well enough. He has insight. He says, I'm going to leave. And she says, okay, let me walk you out. Right. Okay. So that's the end of Brayden for now. All right. Now let's go to date number 2 with Xavier here. Xavier is in the plaid. He's another tall, good-looking guy. They have a fruit date. I've never been on a fruit date, but cute. They're like stomping their feet in pairs or something. I don't know. It looked really cold. That looks fun. They're eating some hot jam or something. What I loved is that he compliments her, right? They start and he says, oh, you look beautiful. And here's the one thing, though, that I thought about that. Charity's going to get to, and she says multiple times on the date, he reminds me of my ex, which isn't a good thing because her ex obviously cheated on her, and so it's triggering something for her. But I wondered if Xavier is reminding Charity of her ex physically or emotionally. Big difference, right? If you remind me just physically of my ex, that's okay because people have a type. I'm attracted to tall men. You remind me of my ex if they all maybe have the same eye color, hair color. I get that. But if emotionally he reminds her of her ex, then he has more to overcome, right? Xavier can't help it. It wasn't his fault. But now, what about that specifically? Like, this is where I want to know. And my guess is it's this, that maybe Xavier, she thinks is a little bit schmoozy, like a little bit too smooth when he says, oh, you look beautiful. And he leans in a little bit more than some of the other guys. Maybe that felt a little bit needy to her. And then a needy guy goes and cheats on her. So I can see that there's some history here. All right. But we're going to be watching Charity's body language. And I really do think that she likes him. You can just see. Then they're on the train. They have a lovely conversation. But it's at the dinner portion, the evening portion, where he really opens up. And I think that was a really smart move. This is what always happens. This is like the normal formula, where then in the evening portion, you're really encouraged in the first one-on-one to talk about your story. And Xavier's story is very touching. But I think that Xavier reminds Charity of herself. And this is where it comes to family. And family's so important, right? We met her parents. They've been married 47 years. I can't believe that they're that old. But been married forever. And he says, yes, my mother has MS. I'm becoming a biochemist to help because I want to cure MS. But my dad's supporting my mother. And there's nothing I wouldn't do for a partner. And then the tears start coming. And we see that Charity is connecting with Xavier around this because that, again, reminds her of her family. But now the other thing, and again, on Nick Viall's podcast, he was kind of talking about Xavier, maybe he's an F-boy. I can't buy into that because here's the thing. When you are defending your dissertation, which is what Xavier is doing right now at UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, same school that my niece is going to be starting college, you don't have time for much else, okay? He's knitting in between to keep his mind off things, but I'm surprised he's not on his laptop. I mean, if he's defending his dissertation, he is going to be working constantly. But back to, he is smart, he is good looking. I'm hoping it comes from a secure family. But we can see that Charity, she starts to really love Xavier's answers, but she answers the question sort of for him. Like she wants to control the narrative. And that's okay because she's invested. But she says things like when he says, I'm worried that nobody would be that interested in what I have to say. And she says, or that you're good enough. I'm like, okay. So she can relate to that. And that's where I think the connection is really building. Okay, let's get back to now we have the final rose ceremony. And let's face it, production has a lot to do with this. Now, Braden is coming back in. We all know what happened. He probably had some unfinished business, wanted to come back, say a couple of things. Of course, he was not going to go talk to the guys, though he could have. If he wanted this to go better and or felt that there had been a connection with anyone else, he might have stopped and checked in with the guys and said, I don't want to mess up your time with Charity. I'm just here. I just need 5 minutes. But he didn't. He kind of pushes past the guys, which pisses them all off, and goes directly in. And then that's a really awkward moment where Charity is mid-kiss with John, and there is Braden standing. It's just creepy, right? It's just weird. Okay. Obviously, John is upset. I don't know. There wasn't much conversation happening with John anyway, because sometimes you just go for the kiss to sort of fill in the silences. And I really like John a lot, but I just didn't know if that was going to work out anyway. So I really think, so then we have the whole Braden thing. He says his piece to Charity. I'm sorry, it was me, not you. And she says, yeah, I know. She's not broken up over it. She's really not. Was she that upset? No, she moved right along. And this is why I like Charity's energy. She's not, as I said a couple weeks ago, really digging into how hard it is or how troubled she is. She's just grateful. She's grateful. She's upbeat. She's positive. She knows she's got some great final guys. And so now we get Aaron. Okay, Aaron is upset. And Aaron has, it's nothing new to anybody, but he does not get along with Braden at all. These two have an altercation. The worm word is thrown around. And then John goes back to the van and says to Braden, dude, you screwed up my time with Charity. But here's the thing. All John had to do is, while the fight was happening, is go get the time with Charity. And so I just feel like all the men are broing out and kind of defending her, get out of here, push the pedal, get the heck out of here, when really, if they were smart, they just would have been grabbing the time with Charity themselves. So back to what Braden first said, is if she really likes you, then she'll make time for you. And that's kind of what I think about John. So anyway, who now, then we get to the final rose ceremony. And she does send John home. She sends Michael home. And she sends Caleb home. But I think there's something really interesting happening here. And that is that I do think that Charity kept Tanner, who is a very attractive man also, and Sean. So I do think she has a thing for the pretty boys, right? All of these men are very good looking. And that's more her type. Obviously, Braden was not her type. The scarf, the whole thing, that was not her type. She she's so impeccable in her dress that I think she's going to have the same standards for a partner too. And, you know, Dotun has like a ring in his ear. I think that was all very cool. We will see how this goes. But I think the final two are really great, guys. And my final two are Dotun and Xavier. Oops, excuse me, Dotun's losing his pants here. Dotun and Xavier, I think, are the final two because of the energy and because she's trying to make Dotun feel special. And she keeps talking about Xavier, reminding her of her ex. She wouldn't be going down that path if she wasn't taking that process very seriously. But whoever she chooses, I'm actually not going to be mad about either of those choices because I think both of them could work. But if she does choose Xavier, I really want her to challenge him a little bit more because she's got to be really certain that he is different from her ex in all the ways that are important. And, but I like him, I'll be honest with you, I'm a stickler around the distance. I really think I've seen distance screw up so many relationships on the show that I like that Xavier lives in North Carolina, which is closer to her family, and Georgia, and just proximity-wise, and Dotun, I think, is in Brooklyn, if I'm not mistaken, right? But his family's in California. So I worry about the distance there because both of those are equally far. Anyway, I still think that we've got some more of the show to play out. We will see how the men handle kind of the final sort of jealousy. Because at one point I thought I saw in a preview Dotun getting jealous about something and someone is clearly not there for the right reasons, or they leave prematurely. I'm wondering if that might be Aaron because, as I said, I didn't feel during their one-on-one that he was completely all in. Though he's been her defender and her eyes and ears in the house, I don't think she really needs that, and I just don't see the attraction there. So those are my final thoughts. But please, please, I want to know your thoughts, and I need your likes and your comments. It helps the algorithm and for me to continue to push out more videos like this. So please subscribe, like, and comment. Let me know who you think is going to be in the final two, your final pick. All right, that's enough for today. We will stay tuned for episode number 5 next week. See you then.